for someday? Ready to finally start living your best life right now?
You're in the right place. I'm David.
And I'm Wendy.
And this is the David and Wendy podcast. We're your life coaches here to move you from the excuses to action.
From mastering your mindset to finding real joy, we're keeping it real, raw, and maybe just a little ridiculous.
Let's get into it, Wendy.
Let's go, David.
Welcome back to the David and Wendy podcast. This week in part 2 about feelings, we are going to dig into what happens when we ignore or stuff them down.
Yes, last week we talked about the fact that there are really two options when it comes to how we deal with our feelings. We can either work through them or we can ignore them or stuff them down. And as you can imagine, option 2 is not the favorable one. So many of you may be asking yourself right now, why is it that we do stuff down feelings? Oftentimes it's due to pain that we don't want to experience or feel at all. Then that's really denial. Sometimes it's too difficult to put in the time or the effort to work through those feelings. But ways that we stuff them down are we ignore them. Now, there's times that this is legitimate. So if you ever had a time when you're at work and a feeling just overcomes you and you're like, whoa, no, I can't do this right here. And, that's okay. But the important piece to remember with that is that you need to revisit those feelings another time. So it's not necessarily bad if, you're sure to go back and address those feelings. The other ways that we stuff them down is just by denying that it even is really happening, whatever it is, why those feelings are coming up. Like it could be from an experience and you just tell yourself that didn't really happen. Nope, that did not happen. And we've all done those things, but we know that it's not necessarily good. So let's talk about why it's, not good. Why ignoring them or stuffing them down is not something that we should be doing. And I oftentimes feel like we don't learn this until we're a little bit older and more mature. And maybe that's because we've all experienced what happens when those emotions, we don't deal with them. They either resurface and they're come with a vengeance, or other things start happening, which is what I'm going to talk about next here. When we ignore or stuff our feelings down, several symptoms can or may occur, especially if it's for prolonged periods of time, or chronic ignoring or stuffing them down, such as anxiety, depression, sickness, irritability, withdrawing socially, or even unwanted experiences like in our relationships or with raising our children or socially in our career. Sometimes those are, when we have ignored them, they'll come up in how we're in these situations.
Yeah, right. Not only can these processes affect our mental health, it can also affect our physical health as well. We all know about hypertension and high blood pressure. These are well-known symptoms of stuffing or ignoring or basically not processing our feelings. The feelings don't disappear when we stuff them. They sit right under the surface and just they're kind of on a low boil. Even out of our awareness, they're still kind of a low boil. We can be like, why do I feel so anxious? Why do I feel so uncomfortable, or whatever that is? And they create, even though they've been automated and they're in the subconscious, they are still running the program, and that creates a cocktail of chemicals in our body, which are all the stressing cocktails. They stress out our system, all the adrenaline and all those different chemicals that take a toll on our bodies. And this can be a source of all kinds of physical problems, including up to cancer. It's all related, and the result, it's all the result of our mindset. We have a it's what we're paying attention to. So the idea of resolving the feelings is about kind of releasing them, right? Giving them our attention, and moving through them, understanding them, and being able to let them go. And that can be reflected in the physical body. When we let certain things go, we can actually, our physiology can change. We can get better, because we're no longer creating that cocktail of stressful, system deteriorating chemicals. The body is designed and equipped to heal itself, isn't it? Right? We get a cut, the cut scabs, heals up, goes away. Maybe there's a little scar. Maybe there's not. Right? If we had a scar for every scab, some of us would be covered up. But right, a broken bone fuses back together and actually becomes stronger in where that break was. People recover from surgeries, right? They're getting cut open and they're going in there doing whatever they're doing, and the body pulls itself back together. It heals all those, that invasive process, right? And and they found in the medical world that people will actually heal quicker when they believe that they are recovering well, that the process went well, and that the process removed whatever the problem was, and that now they're going to be healthier. And those people that create that mindset actually recover very quickly and very well. It's it's well documented. Wendy, would you like to share your story?
Yeah, yeah, David. And just a quick comment. Yeah, we've all heard of stories of where people have basically cured themselves based on their mindset and
Right.
the actions around that. Yes. So yeah, I would like to share my story because it just really um, is an example of this everything we're talking about here. So I was in a career, and this is something you'd see in one of those medical documentaries, and we've all heard them or seen them, and boy, when I experienced it, I'm like, wow, this is real. So I was in a career that I thought would be for the rest of my life. I was a school teacher, and the first 10 years seemed like they were going very well. And I'd say probably the second half of that career, so after about year 10 or 12, I started having feelings that something wasn't right in my career. I no longer loved it. And, as time went on, I actually started to despise it. I wasn't happy going in. And I was like, I can't leave my profession, for all these reasons. I'm like, I have a master's degree in this field. I'm still paying on student loans. I was a single mom. All these reasons of why I can't just leave. There's just no way. So I literally was thinking the whole time, I'm stuck. I absolutely cannot leave this job. I even, I tried to make a lateral move, and I did that actually often within the district where I taught. Um, but it was about, oh gosh, 7 to 8 years of not feeling like I was where I belong. I just was not happy. So that's a long time. Think about that. 7 to 8 years of not being happy of where I was, what I was doing. And all of a sudden, I developed episodes where I was getting violently ill. It wasn't just a little bit of, uh, you know, I'm sorry to be graphic, but it was vomiting and diarrhea, but it was like an exorcist movie. It wasn't just, a stomach bug type of thing. And it would always hit me as soon as I pulled into the parking lot. I would feel this overwhelming sickness come over me, and I would just barely get into my classroom where there was a bathroom, and it would, like I said, it was not a good thing. And this would happen pretty much regularly, every once a month, I would say. It got to the point it was so bad I had to be taken out by ambulance, or somebody would have to come to school, pick me up, and take me home. And it would, I'd pretty much start feeling better by the end of that day. So, as you can imagine, I consulted with a doctor because I'm like, why is this happening? Like, what's causing this? Because it became very regular. And, my doctor did all sorts of diagnostic testing, colonoscopy, endoscopy, food allergy testing, MRIs, x-rays, psychological testing, you name it. He prescribed it to see if we could figure out what was going on. Well, lo and behold, every single test came back negative. And he's like, I really think that this is just your body reacting to stress and anxiety from your job, from your career. And I kind of knew in my heart of hearts that he was right. So, not to go in, it was, I don't know, several months. And the end of the school year, I made a decision that I had to make a decision. Am I going to stay and continue being sick, or am I going to leave where I'm at? So I made the decision to leave, and all of my symptoms went away literally immediately. It was unbelievable. It was like nothing I've ever experienced before. So the kicker of all of this is, though, it confirmed that I was very unhappy in my career, and my career was making me sick because of the unhappiness in that. And about a year after I left my job, I was headed on vacation with my children, and we drove through the town where I was teaching. And I kid you not, the symptoms resurfaced almost immediately, like a light switch. I had my kids, I had to pull over. I was violently ill, and it wasn't just a little bit of sick. It's hard to explain that it was like an exorcist movie. I just became so violently ill. So to this day, that was the last time I had that episode. To this day, though, I haven't had any of those symptoms like that. So I'm grateful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's really amazing when you can figure it out like you did. You figured out, well, okay, so maybe it's the job that's doing this, since that's where I feel the worst. So then you leave that job, right? But then you come back, right? You put yourself in that triggering location, and you visually see, and the program is still running. Oh no, we don't, right? We're not doing this again. We're not. We are. This is not what I want to do. So that old neural pathway was still plugged in, and still a little bit alive because it hadn't been replaced.
sure was.
It's right. That's how it happens. It happens with repetition. The repetition or practice of whatever that stimulus is, whatever that, like your job, right? It was the thinking of your job,
Yes,
and you were, let's just say you were finished with that path, and you hadn't recognized it yet, right? And the body's like, nope. So you had a
right.
stimulus, which was going to the job, or maybe even just thinking about the job, and then you had a reaction, which was a physical, we'll call it a response. uh, and it was triggered, right? It was that's what it that's the definition of a trigger. So in repeating that, you hardwired it, right? You wrote it into your programming: stimulus,
Yes.
reaction. And the body does this automating for efficiency.
Hmm.
And the well, I say the mind does this automating for efficiency, which is the definition of creating a habit. Um, just like anything else you've ever learned, like
Right.
tying your shoes. You can tie your shoes without even looking or carrying on a conversation. And I can prove that to you two different ways. One, try to watch what you're doing and think about how to move when you're tying your shoes, and you'll get it wrong. You'll go, wait, what? How do I?
Yeah.
Or my favorite, which is what I'm doing, is I'm tying my shoes in the opposite way. And I actually
Interesting.
forgot how to do it the old way, so I'm going back and forth. Um, this is a reaction to being reminded of that situation, being which is being reminded of a situation is, we're being triggered. And the way we do this, the way we overcome these triggering things is through desensitization. Desensitization, there it is. Practices, right? They're just thoughts. That's all it is. It's just thoughts that have become automated, that has an input and an output. That's People go to psychologists or counseling, whatever, to get over, say, a fear of heights
Hmm.
or a fear of flying or spiders. I had a really significant fear of fairly significant fear of heights, although flying doesn't bother me. And I was helping my uh, brother-in-law do some work around his house, and I had to get on a ladder and go like 2 stories up,
Wow.
which was, I was hugging the ladder and trying to hold on when I first started. I'm like, I don't want to, I get it to the top, and I didn't want to let go to do the work. Right?
Right.
I'm trying to stay. I couldn't reach away from the ladder. But after doing that for a little while, I would like find myself climbing up the ladder, thinking about what I was going to do,
Hmm.
right? Not worrying about what might happen. I was just kind of looking at, and it wasn't even crazy enough. It wasn't, even though I understand this stuff. It wasn't intentional. I didn't do it intentional. I just kept climbing up the ladder,
Right.
and then my body's like, okay, nothing's happening. We're safe. We're fine. And then I got to a place where I could climb up the ladder and always being safe, right? Not being crazy, but
Right.
uh, I could be up there and be settled and be okay. It was a weird experience, but that's that's how we get over that. And if that's right, you see people, right, in the counseling, they talk about their fear of flying or their fear of heights, and they you know talk about it and they work it through. They go through the feelings of it and why they think maybe they're feeling like that. Is there a reason behind that, or is it just
Right.
somebody told you to be that,
Hmm.
and so you were? Somebody modeled it for you, a parent typically, but not always. And then you come to an awareness of it, right? You come to a realizing, oh, this isn't really a thing per se. Nothing's, and even if there was an experience, you can still get past that because the situation is now different. And then what they do is they take you out, right? They take you out somewhere and physically walk you, put you in a situation where it's triggering, right?
Hmm.
But you're coming to it with a new mindset, so it may not be as strong
Right.
after you're doing all that processing.
Hmm.
And then you keep doing it, continue the processing, and then you continue the physical exposure. And pretty soon, that old neural pathway that used to say, scary, right? Save me,
Yeah.
right? Life or death,
Right.
you know, run. That neural pathway is starting to disintegrate as you build a new neural pathway
Hmm.
that says, "Oh, this is all right. It's not. It may not be something I enjoy doing, but it's, or maybe I do. Maybe I've found a new thing I enjoy doing.
Hmm.
But either way, you're just okay with it, right? It's just a process. It's just a thing you do, right? You climb a ladder, or you go walk across a bridge, or whatever it is. It's in a new place.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. This is this stuff is so fascinating, and the more we talk about, all of this, the mind body connection is just profound. It really is. We don't think about it.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, like we talked about before, the 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 body, the The mind doesn't know the difference, cannot tell the difference between what we physically see with our eyes and what we close our eyes and imagine.
Yes.
The input is to the body and the mind are the same. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird, but yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Well, this has been a great conversation today, David. I hope our viewers, or our listeners, excuse me, get some value out of this. So, this brings us to our topic for next week, which is create, manifest something new. How do you feel about that?
All right, that's the show for this week. We hope you are feeling motivated like you're ready to take on the world.
If you got value today, do us a huge favor, like and subscribe, and leave us a review. It helps us reach more people just like you.
You can find all our info in the show notes and connect with us at our website, thedavidandwendypodcast.com.
We'll see you next week. And remember, always be kind, loving, and compassionate to everyone you meet.